Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. I'm excited to share some new updates of the show with you, starting with a new look, sound, and energy, as well as a variety of guests coming aboard with intriguing topics of conversation. I hope you enjoy the new level of energy that will be brought to the show. Thank you for all of your support since the very beginning in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already? Because of you, the Purposeful Life Show is now in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, and we aim to get it into the top 1%. Continue listening to the show and share it with others. You can also now listen to the show on my Facebook page at Adrian Starks, where you can comment in real time and communicate with me about your aha moments. Thank you again for all of your support, and let's make this one hell of a year and be purposeful about doing that. Wishing you all much love and success.
For myself in my story, when I was not able to give myself that time that even intellectually I knew what was right to do, emotionally, I wasn't allowing myself. It's because that trauma plays into this on every day of our lives. It's like we know what we need to do. We know that we need to move forward in business, move forward in maybe a relationship. But emotionally, that's what's stopping us, right? There's emotionally at that level, we created identity that I'm not that. So therefore, I cannot be that.
Welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Connect Now podcast with your host, Adrian Starks. If you're looking for the ideas that could be your breakthrough for change in your business, career, or personal life, then this podcast is for you. Join Adrian as he speaks on topics of personal and professional development for the person behind the business, and interviews a variety of entrepreneurs, business owners, and thought leaders to reveal their ideas and solutions to success and its challenges. Subscribe to the show and leave us a review. It's time to connect, learn, and grow.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Purposeful Life Show on the Connect Now podcast with your host, Adrian Starks. And I'm so excited to have you back for another amazing episode. I know I say that all the time, but yes, it's another amazing episode. So before we get started, make sure you go ahead and download this podcast onto your favorite podcast platform, subscribe to the show, and leave us a review. Today, we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk with an amazing friend and leader. And her name is Tammy Cho, and I'm excited to have her on the show. Tammy, can you say hello to our audience?
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here with you.
Tammy, I am happy to have you here, and I've waited a long time for this conversation, and I just know the audience is going to love you. So before we get into our conversation, let's go ahead and get into the bio here. Tammy is the founder of Path to the Heart. I already love that title. Working as a registered nurse and embodying her own spiritual and healing journey for nearly 20 years, Tammy has realized healing is not only about medication, surgery, and symptom management. Her own trauma and life experiences led her to journey through traditional and non-traditional therapies. Tammy now empowers her clients to connect to their body, heal their past, well, that's a big one right there, and build emotional resilience to achieve balance, enlightenment, and authenticity. Whew. Her mission is to awaken and inspire humanity to return to the truth of who they are. Tammy has a unique and proven face and body analysis system to help her clients discover their own body healing blueprint, allowing them to embody self-love, acceptance, and compassion. Her mission is to inspire humanity to embody self-love and acceptance so they can stop running away from themselves. Wow. Tammy, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
I'm excited to have you on because we're going to talk a lot today about some things that you specialize in. You help high achievers around the world. Right now, high achievers around the world they're going through a lot of things right now. And I think this is a good time for us to really find ways to help ourselves become more calm, balanced, so that we can get to the heart of the matter and start going back to self-love and showing up more for people here on the planet. So Tammy, let's talk about your journey from being a registered nurse, and thank you for your services for that. And to all of our frontline workers. Yeah. And to all of our frontline workers out here in the world. But you went from this registered nurse journey to being a healing coach and teaching all the high achievers out there how to live from the center of their hearts. What was that turning moment for you when you decided to take that journey?
Well, Adrian, it really started. My wake up call was just burning out myself. Like I ended up being, one day going to work and I ended up being wheeled off to emergency in front of all my coworkers. I was having heart
Oh,
palpitations and chest pain, and its pain was radiating up my jaw, down my arm. It was a really bad panic attack I was having. And I actually knew that I was actually experiencing high anxiety at that point, and I was having problems focusing and concentrating. But yeah, it did. That was sort of like the wake up call that led me to start my journey.
wow. So it's always that wake up call. That's why I love talking about the journey. So when you had those heart palpitations and you were being taken out, it was that point that you decided that something needed to change.
Well, honestly, I should continue that bit of the story because we have these wake up calls. We don't always have that awakening right away. But for me,
Hmm.
when I experienced that, it's like I said, I knew I was having that. I even went to get a doctor's note. I even looked into my short term disability benefits at that point, and
Hmm.
I knew the right thing was to take time off work before, but I didn't allow myself. And some people may question, is it like my intelligence level? Like, well, why didn't you do that, Tammy? And really, it came down to back when I was young. My mom left when I was a baby, 20 days old, to emotionally and physically abusive father. And so
Hmm.
at that time, I grew up being bullied basically most of my elementary and my high school. And essentially, I really didn't think very well of myself. I didn't think I was worth anything, and I struggled with self worth. And so when yeah, and I did well for myself. I got really good at putting a mask on, Adrian, and just numbing things out, hiding and smelling. And I did, I went through university, became a nurse. I got a loving husband. I attracted all of this, but inside, I was still not feeling myself. And the true, I guess, turning point for me, Adrian, was when I had my daughter, and she was only 6 months old, and she's lying down on one of those baby Einstein mats on the floor. And for the first time, she hit one of those hanging toys on the structure. And there was a community nurse that was visiting me on my couch in my living room. And she said, "Oh, did you see that, Tammy?" And I was like, I saw it, but I was like, well, kids do that. I was like so disconnected to my own child and I didn't even know it. And in that
Hmm.
moment, like, really, if it wasn't for that nurse, I wouldn't have even had that realization. And I realized I was not like physically abandoning my daughter, like my mom did me, but I was emotionally abandoning my daughter. And
Hmm.
that was what hit my heart. And I didn't want to become my mom for be that mom to my daughter. And so that's when I started taking courses, investing in all this to better myself and to begin that healing journey.
Wow. When you're mentioning your story, especially in childhood too, when you felt like you had to cover yourself up and you were afraid to show yourself, it just reminded me of my childhood story too. And although people may see me as this person that talks a lot and I'm very optimistic, there was a point in my childhood where I hid from people. I remembered going to the library during lunch because I was afraid that someone was going to be looking at me eating. And I had this trauma back when I was in elementary when I was considered, well, during that time, an overweight child, and I got made fun of a lot. So even when I released the weight and I went to middle school, I still had that trauma. And I could not eat in the cafeteria. I had to take my food to the library. And that is where I learned about books and reading, which is where my journey started with self development. And speaking of this journey, you talk about the past. And this is what you help people do. You help heal them from the past. And usually we have heard this phrase, let bygones be bygones. Oh, let the past be the past. Oh, you're still talking about that? Why even go there? Tammy, what role does the past play in our lives?
It plays a huge role, and I truly believe in going for the root cause behind things, Adrian, because we could
Okay.
go through life and I could go through life and work on my business and move forward and speak, and then come with this voice inside me that says, I'm not good enough. Or I could work on the core issue, which where it started. It's very much like I could talk about my story of burning out and like, oh yeah, well, that woke me up. Or I could go a little deeper and like, you know what? It was because of my trauma that I wasn't allowing myself to take care of myself and put myself first. Because that
Yeah.
trauma, we develop an identity that no, I can't rest. You know, if I rest, then I'm going to be viewed as lazy. There's these, for myself in my story, when I was not able to give myself that time that even intellectually I knew what was right to do, emotionally, I wasn't allowing myself. It's because that trauma plays into this on every day of our lives. It's like we know what we need to do. We know that we need to move forward in business, move forward in maybe a relationship. But emotionally, that's what's stopping us, right? There's emotionally at that level, we created
Hmm.
identity that I'm not that. So therefore, I cannot be that. You know, it's every decision we make, the voice comes
Mm.
up. And did you know, Adrian, that like it
Hmm.
actually, all of our thoughts that we think, it's actually based out of emotion.
Hmm.
So if we actually work on the root cause of things, the mind chatter starts to actually let go and fall away.
Interesting. So every idea and thought works from emotion. And if we can work on these emotions, meaning those things that we have kind of suppressed or kept away, then we can actually change our current thoughts, which you brought up something very interesting, Tammy. Let's talk about the imposter syndrome, because you mentioned something earlier and I was like, ooh, I want to bring that up again. Being in this state where you're somewhere and you have this persona that you're this person to the people that you're showing yourself to, but deep down, you're not. You're operating from something else. And for business owners and leaders and high achievers out there, this is something that we often quite go through. We won't talk about it in front of people, but we go through it because we all have a past. We all have something that has happened to us that has triggered us to be who we are today, which we use that part of ourselves as a way of healing, right? We try to say, well, if I went through this, I want to help people with this. However, where you come in is that you help the high achievers heal that part of themselves so they can show up more and stop running from themselves. What is something, Tammy, that you find is a reoccurring theme for some high achievers that come to you?
Honestly, Adrian, the biggest one is needing to keep on pushing
Okay.
because they feel like there's not enough time, right? There's always this need to push, even whether that's about being feeling like a posture. You fake it until you make it. And although
Yeah.
there's some layer of truth to that, right? When
Mhm.
we're not really authentically within ourselves and aligned with who we are, that's when we feel like an imposter, right?
Mm.
Does that make sense? Like we
Yeah.
feel that we're acting.
Right.
And so when we're acting, we're not being true to ourselves. So we always feel like we got to be better and we end up pushing to achieve more so that we could feel better
Mm.
versus operating from a space of like, yeah, I'm enough already and that I'm okay right now as I speak and I'm going to move forward. And it's like, yeah, maybe I made a mistake and it's okay. And then have that vulnerability, just say that, yeah, I'm scared right now, or to like, yeah, I screwed up there. And to just flow with it versus like needing to put up that front, that mask. Because honestly, Adrian, like we can feel when someone's not being authentic, can't
Yes,
we?
we can certainly feel that.
Right? Yeah, so that's it's all about coming back to ourselves to really heal that past. It points everything is pointing back to us if you want something different on the outside. And we hear this all the time, but I really invite people to look another layer deeper.
Okay. To look another layer deeper. And I like that. So, speaking of the past and emotions, you talked about how they can push through that. Let's talk about emotional resilience, because I know this is what you also help teach them. For our audience listening today, what is emotional resilience, Tammy?
You know, emotional resilience to me is really the ability to allow ourselves to actually feel and be with our emotions and to be able to allow ourselves to be okay in that and then be able to bounce back.
Mm.
And I teach
Okay.
people, it's funny, I teach a cycle with feeling, right? But really, it's really organic. But
Mhm.
essentially, it's that emotional flow. And I believe that this is one of the big secrets in life because we often run away from things because we're afraid of how it'll make us feel.
Yes.
So imagine if we had that emotional flow and resilience.
Okay.
I become a better mom. I become a better businesswoman. Like it's just, it's changed my life. This is one of the big keys of life, I feel.
It's a huge key, and it can unlock the door to a lot of things for us. I am just floored away by what you're just saying because it's resonating with me so greatly. And you talked about something, running away from our emotions, because a lot of us, and including myself in the past, we go from one thing to the next because we're masking that emotion. We don't want to deal with it. But what happens is we carry that baggage with us or wherever we go in business or however we want to say it. And what's interesting, it reminds me of a quote that someone said. I can't recall the person, but it said this: "You may be done with your past, but your past is not done with you." And if we do not deal with that thing in the past, it just kind of, toggles along behind us. And eventually it comes up in some other department of our lives. So is it good now to begin to look at where are our triggers? For instance, if you find yourself feeling a certain way, what can a person do in that moment to be present with the emotion? Do they just say, get busy doing something else? Or do they just try to feel it, as you would say? And if they try to feel it, what does that mean? I mean, what would happen?
This is a big one because essentially it's a lot of times we are not feeling good, then we have a tendency to keep on doing more things to feel better. And so
Yeah.
really it's about slowing down and allowing yourself, yes, to be and actually feel and allow it to process through. It's sometimes what we do is that, oh yeah, we let ourselves only feeling the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then we go to maybe TV or phone. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I know I'm feeling that. And it's more of an intellectual level versus actually allowing yourselves to process through it all.
Mm.
So does that make sense, Adrian?
That makes perfect sense to me. And I'm sure it will to our audience too. So it's the feeling of processing it. Don't get distracted or don't allow you, because here's the thing that we do. We have what we call self-imposed distractions. When we feel a certain way, we will go to social media. I'm just going to call it out. We'll go to social media. We'll go to our phones to get the reassurance that we are okay. Or we'll go to someone else to get the reassurance that we are okay. And reality is that we're not. And it's okay to say that. Right now, I'm not okay. And it's just me giving an example. Right now, I'm sad. Right now, I'm upset. Right now, I'm confused. It took me a while to say that, Tammy, because I was unwilling to deal with it, because as a speaker and as a person out here that motivates people, I've always had to feel like I have to be on my A game. And here's the reality. I'm human and I'm allowed to have my moments. But this is what I learned from you. And we'll talk about this in the second segment, but I learned this from Tammy. We have to flow and allow that emotion to flow through us and to take it for what it is. No matter if you drop a tear in behind it, if you go into a full out cry, or if you just want to be alone, you have to let that flow. And that is where you become truly powerful in your essence. Because when you can show up vulnerable like that, guess what happens to your business, to your organizations, to your teams? You show up authentic, and then they want to know more about you. So Tammy, this is great. I want us to go on a short break here, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about some special things that you do to help people tap more into that emotional part of themselves, body and face recognition. And I'm excited to talk about this one. We'll be right back. What if it were possible to get local fresh groceries delivered right to your front door? Just think how much time and stress it would save you. Well, Instacart gives you unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Forget that one ingredient for the family dinner that could offset everything? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in your area to help you save money, and every item is hand-selected by shoppers based on your preferences. No more rock-hard avocados, and they will keep your eggs safe too. To start your 14-day free trial, follow the link in the show notes to let Instacart know that we sent you and to help support the show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. Welcome back, everyone, to the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. And we went on a short break, and I hope you had some time to drink some coffee, some tea, water, breathe a little bit, let your windows down in your car, because this conversation has just heated up. And I know that we've got some more coming your way this second half. We have a special guest on. Her name is Tammy Cho. As I mentioned before in the bio, Tammy has been a registered nurse for over 20 years, but she took a different journey into healing people and to helping them with their emotional past and to help them to step forward and show up in life, in business. And she does this on so many levels. But one thing that I really found interesting about Tammy is that she does body and face analysis, which gives her the idea of where you are at in your present time. She also has the ability to determine the energy levels of your state. And I had this experience of working with her, and it helped me out so much. So, Tammy, you help people with low energy. And for our listeners today, they have some low energy, and they're probably figuring out, why is it low? What are some signs of low energy? And when they have these signs of low energy, what is something they can do about it?
Well, Adrian, low energy, right? It manifests in many different ways, but one of the common ones I hear from my clients
Mm-hmm.
is just feeling like they're pushing themselves throughout the day, but they're feeling like a more like a pushing and dragging. So they got to drag and push. That's what they sort of describe to me,
Okay.
and they feel like when they wake up, they just don't feel, I guess, purposeful, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting how this plays out, and it's interesting. It starts out as low energy, and it morphs into a mix of that chronic overwhelm, because then you're sort of dragging yourself, and then you're sort of starting to feel that stress build up, and then you start to get overwhelmed because you're trying to push through it. So you're feeling low energy, but you keep on pushing.
Mm-hmm.
So and then that's where this professional drain comes in, and so I talk about emotions a lot, but it truly is when we're in low energy. Often, it's a sign that the baggage is growing a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met people that come to me in this stage, and I've met people that come to me in the burnout stage. Maybe not at the end burnout stage, but very close to it, feeling like they're on the verge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, when I start to work with them and start to remove the baggage, the freedom starts to open up. And when people work with me
Okay.
longer term, they start to have their purpose flow through. And then that
I
drive,
like
it
that one.
opens up that part of themselves, that because your purpose comes through your heart. You can't feel it if it's all covered up, if that makes sense, right? And so people
Oh,
start to,
okay.
the
Okay. So
energy starts to go up.
okay. So sorry to interrupt you there. I typically
That's
don't do
okay.
this, but that was the light bulb moment for me and the quotable moment of this conversation. You said that the purpose flows through the heart. There was a way that you said this, and I was like, okay, you got to repeat that one more time for me.
All right, I'll do my best, Adrian. And essentially, right, we wake up and we always like, we want to find our passion, we want to find our purpose, and we go looking outside of ourselves, but really, it's through our own heart, and we have inklings of it. And some people come to me and they're already doing something, maybe somewhat aligned, but kind of off. And so then when we do more of the work to remove these things that people are not necessarily connected with right away, but when we go layers and layers deep, it removes that cover. It's like more holes of light shine through, and you start to feel it more
Mm,
and more and connect to it. And that's where the alignment piece comes in, right? That's where
okay,
our journey starts to open up, and you see what's the next step for you.
beautiful. This is why I wanted you on the show, and I want to share my experience of working with you, Tammy, because when I came to you, I had a lot of blockage around my heart. And this came from past experiences that I had covered up and thought, well, I just got to be tough about it. That's what we're taught, right? Just tough it up, get over it. Is what we hear, which is a
Yeah.
conditioning that we've had from society, from parents who have also been told that, from friends who have been told that. And this is actually not helping our growth and going forward and moving into that energetic state that you talk about. So, this idea of allowing our heart to open up, especially as a leader and business owner, or an entrepreneur, or a side gig enthusiast. So there's this sense of not wearing our heart on our sleeves. And so with that being said, we tend to cover up ourselves, as you mentioned before. We hide away from that and we move on and distract ourselves with busyness, with achievements, with accomplishments, saying that I've done this, I've done that. But reality is that we have not done enough for ourselves. And you come in to our lives as this specialist that helps us to do this recognition of who we really are when we don't show up that way. And this is unique because you have a proven face and body analysis system, which you use the face and body characteristics of people to highlight what their body is subconsciously communicating to them. So, for example, for our listeners today, you can go out in a flashy suit, you can be all dressed up, but deep down, your body is saying, what am I doing here? Is this really for me? Come on, I'm not supposed to be here. And what Tammy does is she's able to get into that subconscious communication piece and to help that conversation between you and that other part of you actually become in alignment. So Tammy, how do you do this with people? I know that you teach this and you have a course on this. Do you have a chart that you look at, or you look at a person's weight, height? How does this work?
Well, it's under the umbrella of what's called psychosomatic therapy. And I describe it like this. It's basically the study of how your soul expresses through your physical, emotional body. And it's
Okay.
being written through your body, your features, the way you hold your posture, the way you walk. It's actually quite interesting. And I help people see themselves again through their own body, because many times we look in the mirror and we may maybe judge certain aspects of ourselves, or we look in the mirror and we have a different connection depending on our body shape and things like this, right? And so I usually invite people to start with a face reading, because that essentially what I do, Adrian, is that I help people see what's on their inner world, what's showing up on their inner world, and which is the left side of the face. And then the right side of the face is actually what they're showing outside of themselves. And I do a face split, and I walk them through the journey of this to actually go through connection to the emotions. Because when you start to see yourself, I mean, many of my clients, they see themselves for the very first time. And it's so, I feel so blessed to hold that sacred space for my clients. It's quite an emotional experience for many. I mean, not everyone, but it always touches their something within themselves. And it's something that if they allow me and if I build enough trust, and it comes back to the amount of trauma they have, because when you've been hurt by maybe the people you feel should have cared for you, that mask becomes really strong. And sometimes it takes a little bit more time, but essentially when they see it like this, it always wakes up a part of them. And I hold space for that, for people to see themselves again. And I would not stop doing this. It's beautiful work.
This was amazing. I am so happy that you decided to take this journey, Tammy, into being this person that you are today, because we need more heart-centered people out here in the world to help others become more activated through their heart center. It's interesting to me because when you say that the face reading, the one part of our face that shows our inner world and the other part of our face that shows our outer world. So people are living two different lives and they wonder why there is this discrepancy between what they want and who they are. And this is powerful because when we're in this world of serving others, what we want is to help people. But who we are is something totally different. And this is why the burnout, why the overwhelm happens, why this confusion happens for us. And this is why you help high achievers. And I also like how you say heart-centered high achievers, which is so powerful. And speaking of that, what is your meaning or definition of a heart-centered high achiever?
You know, honestly, I feel I put the energy into the words, and I feel the right people will come. And people that look at those words, they self-identify. And it's really people that care about how people feel, how they want to go out there and help people. And they're really trying their best to help people, and they want to do something that warms their heart. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. No one really asked me this question. So thank you for allowing me to speak of this, to find clarity within myself. But many of us, I feel, have a heart to want to help people. Sometimes that starts with helping others and forgetting about self. And sometimes that's
It's a big
helping
one.
others and just wanting more congruency in self. And it's helping. And then there's another group that's helping people and wanting to build the deeper capacity to hold space for other people's within self. So
Mm.
it's really a range. And so it's like, for me, I put the energy out there and I let people identify when they feel that calling. Because a lot of people that come work with me, I don't know why I'm drawn to you. I don't even know what you do, Tammy, but and so it's very interesting. I have a lot of clients that say that to me.
Well, that's because you're living your true world, right? You are showing up as a person that you know who you are. That's that energy level that I think that we all have, but we have to, like you said, harness it. We have to work inside of ourselves to have that energy radiate out. And I recall working with you a while back, and I came to you with blocked energy. And I remember you telling me I had a heart wall up. And this heart wall was actually interesting because I had it for so many years of protecting myself because I have a big heart. And when you have a big heart, it can easily get bruised. And so when you're a helper out here in the world, you try to help as many people as you can. And let's just be honest, there are some people out here in the world who don't reciprocate that back to you. So you're giving all this out, but when you need it back, you don't really get it. And this is where we have to understand the power of self-love and self-healing, which is what you teach. And I love the idea of you talking about the subconscious communication of the body, because when we think about what our body is communicating to us on a daily basis, we ignore it through the distractions, through all the other things that are going on, demanding our attention. And Tammy, you brought up something very important when you say that we give out this capacity, but we don't have the capacity to take in. And this is where you show up with leaders. And this is why I want to talk about the heart centered high achiever, because I think we are moving into an era of that. We're seeing it all around right now. People want vulnerability. They want honesty. They want people to show their flaws. They want to know that you're human, for goodness sake. You're not just a robot. And
Yes.
what you're doing is you're helping people become more human. Yeah, you're helping them become more human and less of this automatic, autopilot person that just has to regurgitate things and say things to get people to follow them or to listen to them. But you're helping leaders become more open to express themselves. And I 100% support you on that. And I love that you're doing that for people. And for our audience listening today, you're a leader out here. You're moving the world. You're a mover and shaker. You have a company, you have a team, an organization. Whoever you are that's listening today, it's time to be a heart-centered high achiever. It's time to understand what your body is communicating to you. It's time to know what your face is showing when you show up with people. Because Tammy just said there's two parts of you. One part of you shows the outer world, and the other part shows the inner world. I hope I said that right. I think I said that right. Did I say that right, Tammy?
Yeah, we get what you're saying. It makes sense.
They're like, oh,
Yeah,
stop talking, Adrian. Get back to Tammy here. You're messing it up. Oh, I'm
doing
having so
great.
much fun. I'm having so much fun. So, yes, this is a wonderful experience I'm having with you here, Tammy. And this is why I wanted you on the show. And for our audience today, Tammy is amazing. I had the experience of working with Tammy, and she helped me break down a lot of walls. She helped show me what energy I was putting out there. We had this wonderful clothes hanger exercise. I'm not going to tell you guys about it because you need to be with Tammy to experience it. But let's just say that when I did that with 3 other people, it was life-changing. And speaking of life-changing, Tammy, how can our audience get in contact with you?
Yeah, I would invite you guys to. I'll give Adrian a link, and it will have all my free offerings on there. I have you could book a call with me. You could have a heart to heart and see where you are at, right? And I have also, I'm going to be launching Boost Your Productive Energy, Uplift Your Heart 5-day challenge in the fall.
Yes.
So feel free you can sign up for that. It's free. And yeah, there will be a link for that. And as well, I also have a free calm and energize meditation if you want to just have an experience of me, and we could connect that way as well. So yeah, I'd love to speak with you and connect with you.
Thank you so much, Tammy. And to our audience, reach out to Tammy. It's totally worth your time, your energy, your sanity, and your alignment. We just had a huge conversation today about this. This is something that you just cannot sleep on. You can't just deal with it when you want to, or as we would say, you eventually will get over it. the past is never done with you unless you deal with it. So all of us have something inside of us, and it's time to figure out what that communication is subconsciously so that Tammy can help you communicate more openly through your heart. Tammy, this has been a wonderful experience with you, a great heart-to-heart conversation. Thank you for being a light in the world, for helping leaders. And I look forward to your journey into how many more leaders you're going to be actually influencing out here because they need it. We need it. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Adrian, for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Purposeful Life Show on the Connect Now podcast with your host, Adrian Starks. Subscribe to the show and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Learn more about us by visiting our website at cnbn.ca. Go to connectnowpodcast.com to be inspired by more life-changing content. Let's connect, learn, and grow.